Mr. Hinchey.
I understand that Verizon has completed more than 124 franchise negotiations through the franchising structure in New York. And I'm just wondering what you might see with regard to that and what you might think about it. Specifically, what about the experience of BronxNet in the set of this circumstances? What's been their response? How are they dealing with it? Also, if you don't mind, has there been an effect on quality? Has quality been a problem?
When the new entrants to this industry sought harmful legislation in various states, well, it didn't happen in New York, and there are local franchising authorities. And I guess New York State and other places that don't have these harmful state regulations are examples that you can have this competition and you can have the public interest served because it's 124 Verizon communities. There's 124 franchises that Verizon has already made, and it's counting and counting. It's happening. And in New York City, you know, there are, I guess, cable providers in Cablevision and Time Warner, and now Verizon is entering into this market, and we recently completed an agreement with them, which is positive for the communities that we serve in New York City. And we, I guess, would look at we would, I guess, look to that as the exception to the rule in some ways when you're looking at these other states. So quality. Well, when you ask the question of quality, you know, there are times when the channels are being transmitted on old demodulators, or you know, sometimes it's not satisfactory. The audio and the video, the technical quality of what you see on the PEG channels, and it's not by any fault of the PEG facility itself, the staff or the equipment. It's the cable providers, demodulators that are contributing to poor quality. And what we would like to see is, you know, we work with our cable providers to correct that problem, and you know, we would like to make sure that what people experience through their PEG channels is not, there's no distraction or noise of poor quality, as well as these digital functionality issues that we would seek to have as technologies are developed, including video on demand. You know, there's something to be said for being able to access that town hall meeting that you weren't able to attend when you need to look at it to reference something, or if you're, you know, if you're a young person, your child is in a school play, you want to see that play, and you were out of town when it was being featured on the channel. That video on demand is you know, can be vital. So. Quality, I think, is connected to these digital functionality issues in terms of high definition. If all these other channels are in high definition and on, you know, right next door to the PEG channels, or in other places on the dial, on the box, well, you know, PEG should be high definition. And down the road, as we enhance technologies, there's no reason to leave the communities and people that utilize PEG out, because it's important that our folks, our people, our students have access to this up-to-date technology, this relevant technology.
With your relationship to Verizon, do they provide you with some financial assistance?
They do. They do? Yes.
Significant?
Significant.
Yeah. And in the context of the financial assistance, do they negotiate with you or work with you and to affect the outcome of what you're doing, including the quality and the circumstances upon which you may be focused or not focused?
There is a community needs assessment that is usually completed in communities, including New York City, and you know, you partner with the video provider to fulfill these needs and interests, and the agreement with Verizon provides for the ability for us to better serve our constituents in the Bronx and all over New York City through our facilities which would be upgraded, as well as perhaps satellite facilities in the South Bronx. It was a community need and interest that determined that that is important to the people of the South Bronx to be able to have access there. Along with that, we are expecting we are expecting to be able to see a match from the cable provider, which is also a franchise that is being renewed currently. And there was another part of your question. I can't remember what it was. Was there a second part? What part?
Must have been very intriguing because neither can I. But thank you for the response.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. And I will go back to the point that New York has these spaces where people can go in for training, but there are so many places. In your district, there's Woodstock that does have a PEG facility, and there is Ithaca, which also has a studio and training. But there are so many places where there's this opportunity, and it's missing, and it would be important to do something about that.
Yes. Well, that's something I think that really is important. This may have come out in the context of your response to the questions, but I don't remember it myself. What is the general circumstances with PEGs around the country? Are they getting better? Are they getting worse? Are they getting broader? Are they out there more? It seems to me that in some rural areas, particularly, and in small cities, they're not quite as visible, not quite as obvious as they used to be.
I'll take that just to put it in perspective. CAN TV in Chicago is probably one of the largest access centers in the nation. We operate on a budget that would not buy a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl. Wow. You can imagine what's going on in rural America. You can imagine what's going on in southern Indiana. And yet, over this couple of decades, amazing things have been done with a little bit of resource. So we see this as doable. I think that Howard Simons pointed out that there are many examples of a strong partnership with cable where the regulations have existed and we've been able to do it, but we need a floor to stand on. And I think it's important to note the FCC order limits the ability of local franchises, and so do the states. And Representative Sklasky, when you talk about who's going to look out for those other communities, I really admire what Representative Dingell did, but from what I hear today, we've got Representatives Serrano and Kirk and Visklaski and Hinchey, and each of you can help us move this ball forward. We need that.
Thank you.
Thank you for holding a hearing. As a Slovak from Gary, I learned something today, and that's always very difficult, so I commend you, Mr.